I just want to comment real quick on something else I've heard Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson discussing in London. This is their fourth of four discussions, and it's kind of interesting and also discouraging at times to hear the negativity and divisiveness. I hear it coming from Sam, but I've been talking about that a little bit in some other videos if you care to hear more on that. But in this particular little video, I just wanted to comment on something that I found rather interesting. I hear Sam lamenting a lot and talking more and more bold about needing to basically retire the idea of religion, retire all of this, and that I think I'm just completely dumbfounded that he is wanting so much to be done with it, to eradicate it almost, and feeling super bold and just saying so. And it's interesting because Douglas Murray and Jordan both talking about things, about atrocities, say, of the 20th century and whatever, how many of those things would not have been done, for instance, if somebody had thought that God was watching them. In a reference back to something that Sam had said, he really was giving some pushback that a lack of a belief in a God had anything to do with any of those atrocities. You just really see over and over again this emphasis on wanting to judge and put down ideas that are inherent within religion and not take any fault of the other. One thing in particular that stood out to me was commenting on a Marcus Aurelius book. He also talked about Stoicism and how those things are great books, written by a man. These ideas would be much greater ideas. He really tries to make this ongoing suggestion that we can get moral ideas from things that are non-God related, not related to God. And also I've heard a lot of emphasis on trying to not smuggle Jesus in. And I'm going to talk about that one more later because that is just really interesting and new. And I'm just getting more and more borderline like amused and amazed, and not in a good way amazed, and almost overwhelmed at what I'm hearing, because I just can't believe the boldness and the irony that I'm observing within it. But anyway, so say, for instance, okay, so in talking about Marcus Aurelius and the quotes and the encouragements that might be within that book, the wisdom included, Sam seemed very, very impressed by that. And I don't doubt that. But see, a lot of people feel like that about books within the Bible. And he's taking again and again throughout this particular discussion, the discussion 4 in London with Jordan, issues with the Bible, Judeo Christian ideas. He has such a strong, borderline visceral reaction to these things that you can tell he's staying very calm, though, at the same time. So it's just something that you really sense from him. But the fact that he keeps bringing up certain things over and over again, you know this is kind of a core of what he's thinking and feeling. So what I want to say about that, about the Marcus Aurelius, the book, the quotes, encouragements, and wisdom, and that sort of thing, and how he would rather see that elevated, but not the other. He would like to do away with the other. And I guess, I mean, I am coming from a very sincere, from the bottom of my heart place when I say this. Why can't Sam just do that then for himself, read and find books that he finds good for him, and then let other people do what they see as best for them, for themselves and their families and whatever they want to do? He really, I wonder if he realizes that he really is trying almost to get into the heads and hearts of people and to kind of remove religion or spirituality or spiritual ideas. There is no rational basis for this, and especially not a moral stance that he can take and do this I think it needs pushback because I feel like this particular set of discussions is almost like a test of people. How great that the crowd admitted when he put the question out to the crowd, who here believes, they talked about astrology and stuff and astronomy, and then asked the crowd, who believes God speaks to us through books that you can pray to him. And there was a good bunch in the crowd that would. I think he then turned to Jordan and talked about how that the dangers of Jordan, doing what he does gives off an impression that that's okay, that people continue to do that. You guys, I hear the suggestion being made, I hope. Sam is basically saying, when he says to Jordan, you give off an impression that that's okay, he's saying it's not okay. It's kind of a putting down, a demeaning, and shaming people. And it's a form of bullying. But it's worse than that. It's not just like a schoolyard bullying. It's worse. Nobody respects a bully. Nobody respects a weak stance, view of things. And that's why, and as harsh as it might sound like I'm coming down on Sam, I feel like Sam is entrenched in some really bad thinking while he elevates his own and continually puts down those who disagree. Now, you can see this as well when someone has a response to Sam, and he can get some. It's kind of like he gets some impression as a person is starting to say a particular sentence that he doesn't like, or that he thinks might shed some bad light or some more not positive light on his ideas. I've noticed that he'll kind of cut them off and say, here, let me, he doesn't almost want them to finish their thought. And I actually was really impressed a couple times already in this one. I've got to be fair to Douglas Murray because he's not even on my side of things. He's not really in agreement with me. I feel I at this point of things, when I feel like someone's just being honest and rational, oh my gosh, it's like a breath of fresh air. I swear, it means so much to me, because Sam, I feel like, is just sucking the life out of the thing, like of people just being able to be free to do what they want in a freedom-loving country. Like, gosh, back it up, Sam. You got to knock it off. And you cannot resent any pushback. You can't be mad when people want to argue with your poor ideas. I'm not talking to Sam specifically here, but if I could say that to him, I would, absolutely. So my point just is, you pick your good books, your books of wisdom, whatever you agree is best to guide or encourage or exhort or whatever you. But leave people alone. I think it's a better moral stance to let people live, think, and choose as they will without trying to shame them. You know what? It's kind of like wanting to strong arm or put a thumb down over people as if he's such this great higher intellect, a moral, with a great moral code or something, that he could know better than. How dare someone do that in this regard? He has no foundational basis in which to do this. He certainly has not made the cases that need to be made. Anyway, I just wanted to say this, and more than that, if I could just say one more thing, because the irony to me is he's not being too gracious either. I have never yet, in these discussions anyway, heard Sam even remotely allude to something. He is so confident that there is no God, that there is nothing in a spiritual nature like a God, especially not a Judeo Christian God. And I find this so fascinating. And hear me out when I say this, that I don't think it dawns on him that what would explain a lot of Sam's positioning here, a lot his stance, his posturing, his views, and all these facts, you know what would explain it? is that it is true. Because, and he just, but what I guess besides that, and I don't think he would probably like that, but you need to allow, I wonder if he has done a little bit of that ruling out in advance, the possibility. He's so convinced by what I find to not be sufficient reasoning and rationale that there is no God, that he feels free to demean it. But he's wanting everyone else in the world to be on board with him in that. And I'm just saying that does not carry through, that does not follow, that because Sam, who to me is exhibiting again and again not the most moral views, not the most rational, reasonable, logical views in keeping with the facts, he needs to get back. I know he's trying to kind of get away from sounding like he's not really wanting to debate or be in opposition to anyone he's even discussing these things with. But I think it would be helpful to get back to the debates. They are not concluded at all, but they are in Sam's mind. And so he's moving forward as if everything else just fairy tales. And he uses things like magic or astrology or things like to compare it to. Things that people really don't believe and build their life around. There's a reason that people grow up and stop believing in Santa. There's a reason that other people that grow up that were not raised in religions grow up and become religious of something. They come and become a theist as an adult. It's because, and this is what he doesn't allow for, that I think is another way that Sam isn't fair. He's not allowing for the fact that there's very rational people that obviously are even willing to see how much stronger they are than Sam's view. Their view is so much stronger. They've come to, as an adult, to believe for great reasons. You hear of atheists that have come to faith that did not grow up in a religious background. Let's, not be so harsh, rude, and come on, let's just admit it, nasty. It's kind of nasty and mean to be this way, to assume. So anyway, one more thing within that last thought is that it could be that there's an inner struggle there, especially if this is all true. If it's possible that a God is real and true, it actually would make sense of why Sam can't let this go. If there is a God and Sam is at odds with his creator, that makes more sense of this than anything else. And I believe that he feels, whatever the reason is that he feels the way he does, he feels very strongly, but the reasons that he's giving for the way he feels and thinks are not sufficient to me. So I think it's actually a natural response of someone like me to say, what would explain this better than the reasons he's giving? Because the reasons he's giving and the blame he's putting on are not making sense. And I don't think he realizes how close he is to engaging in the beginnings of some very dangerous thinking, which doesn't really go to good places. So that's why you'll hear me kind of keep harping on some of the things I do. I'm not carrying all of those thoughts all the way through. I think that if you can start convincing people, enough of the public, enough of people in leadership, that something is deeply immoral and ought to not even be really countenanced anymore. He wants us to not even really give it any legitimacy like we are. And you know what's scary about that? It's already not being taught in schools. No one's trying to force anyone to pray in schools. No one's trying to force anyone to go to any kind of religious education or even suggesting it. No one's forcing a pledge of allegiance or when someone doesn't want to, or any kind of praying. Nobody. It's weird. It's like, if you want to have abortions, you're free to have abortions. If you want to have a same-sex marriage, you're free to have a same-sex marriage. I don't understand where he's feeling so infringed upon, especially now Do you see how his arguments and the level to which he cannot let some of this go, and he's asking everyone else to let something that they shouldn't let go, he's not giving good reasons for it. He's asking them to let things go and not even countenancing the idea that he should let this go. Leave people alone. It's weird. It's almost like he's trying to shut up some truth that might be within it. It's the more, if you listen carefully to Sam, it kind of sounds like he doesn't want. It's as if that people are believing all these things give it some credence, when that's really a backwards way of thinking about it. As harsh as I have been on Sam, my heart actually goes out to him, because I think he's putting up a blockade of sorts for himself against what could be possibly true. I know he thinks he's settled, and I think he's just doing it as a sheer force of very strong will, like the kind that where you just dig your heels in and you're just going to be like, nope, nope, nope. There's no way. There's like no way at all that this could be possibly true, that there could be a God, or that he could have revealed himself through the writings of human beings. It's like he's mad that others do believe in that. But the thing is, Sam needs to stay out of other people's minds, because their minds aren't hurting Sam. Which brings me back to this strange thought, that is his problem something else, something that's very real, it's internal, and that he is at odds with something. I believe he is sensing that very intensely, very strongly, and he's trying hard. This is the most gracious view I can give of myself to Sam, to explain away what he's trying to do. It's that he feels this at odds feeling and is trying to explain it. The easiest, and I'm sorry I'm going to say this, but it's cowardly, it's weak. The easiest way out of those, to have to give some explanation for those feelings and turmoil within, are that he wants to blame somebody. He wants to put the blame because he feels something in him. And I'm just saying, it could be that it's not what he's blaming at all, which would make sense that I'm right about that, because his rationale is not carrying through. It's not going through correctly. So, again, what would make sense of an inner turmoil that keeps bringing him back again and again and again to hating the idea of a Judeo Christian worldview? What would explain that? Could it be that he's rejecting a different truth that he's not thinking about? I'm sorry, but I'm at the point where we need some explanation. And actually, so I say I'm sorry, but I say I'm sorry, but not because I'm sorry, but that's a harsh, it's an intense thing to say. It's a big thing to say, that if there is a God, he created Sam Harris, and he knows what's best for Sam Harris, and there is something more to life, that this is not all there is. If there is something that has a mind, that is responsible for the world that we see, which includes incredible everything within it, we need a sufficient cause for this effect, and it has to have morality and intelligence and immense power. What would fit that bill? And all I'm saying is, what if there is a God, and what if he has revealed himself through nature, through our conscience, through our moral codes that need explaining, and through the beginning of time and space and events that started to begin to happen one after another. We need to have, that when we do something wrong, we have this oughtness in us, that oh gosh, I shouldn't have done that. You know it's wrong. And even if you don't think it is, you know it's wrong when someone else does it to you. Like, these things all need explanation. And if you're going to fight it, all I ask is please be more fair in your fighting of it. Let me suggest this crazy thought too, and then I'll end. It's okay for Sam to say, you know what? To play this out just for a minute, play out this theory for just a second. What would this hurt for Sam to do? From people that follow him, people that love Sam and believe just like him. Would it hurt to say, hey, you know what? Let's pretend for the moment that you're right, that the Judeo Christian worldview is right, whether Judaism or Christianity. Let's run with Christianity for a minute, because I'm most familiar with that. Let's say that Christianity could possibly be a true thing. And it could be true that I've done wrong things, that I have sinned against the person who created the whole moral code in the first place. Maybe if I am wrong, if I've ever done anything wrong, and I'm sorry and ask forgiveness, is there someone out there that can give me that forgiveness? And what are their terms for that? And what if it's true that there's a reason I wish I could have a long life, and I wish there could be some kind of eternity or wonderful place? Why can't I just say, you know what? Even if that's true, say I'm a sinner and I don't want to be sorry, or I don't want God's forgiveness, the very one who could grant it. Say that's true. Why can't people just say, you know what? I don't want that. I don't like that idea. If there's a God and these are his terms that he's laid out for humanity, fine. You can do that. I don't want it. I want what comes with this life, and I don't want to have to listen to the person who knows literally me best. I don't have to listen to that person. I want to, in essence, be my own God. In strange words there, as I think about it, because when you want to dictate what other people think and believe and kind of wag your finger at what they ought not believe, what are you kind of doing if almost not playing God for yourself and for others? I just find the ironies to be screaming out in all of this a little bit, in a way that not to mock or ridicule, but to wake up. Let's wake up our hearts and souls and minds. At least contemplate, could it be possibly true? In the meantime, those are some things to ponder. In the meantime, though, can I just get back to saying, you know what? Can we encourage each other to do a more moral route of allowing people to live their lives, think what they want, and believe what they want? Because really, these discussions are trying to change those things. I find that remarkably not moral and not a great philosophical view of things. So I just wouldn't want anybody to be self-sabotaging. If I'm wrong, I would love to know how. If I'm right, I would love people to be more honest with what their options are, that they just don't want it. It's okay to say, God, I don't like you. I don't like how you do things. So it helps to reject that, I think, if you can come up with all these reasons, all these, put in air quotes, supposed reasons why this is evil and that's evil, and it's not just a history of a people group, but you want to pick and choose out things that, yeah, it's so evil, I get to legitimately reject it. I look at it differently than a lot of people. I look at a lot of this like with a different lens, or from a different angle, a different point of view, because it actually makes more sense to me in those lights. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. That's quite the little tangent, but I think it's so important because I'm trying to help get a pulse on what the real issue is here, because I don't think Sam is trying to be immoral for the sake of it. I think he's acting in these ways for reasons he doesn't even maybe fully understand, and is trying to make it be blamed on somebody. And then I think he feels like maybe if a lot of people could come on board, that somehow gives some legitimacy to his ideas. I think that's what he maybe is going for a little bit, is for people to give him some accolades, to buy some kudos, some applause, some reinforcement, as if people agreeing with him could weigh in on the truths we're talking about anyway. I think they're just kind of following suit. And go figure. Look, it's not really satisfying, is it? I don't sense that he's feeling more and more satisfied. Notice, whatever this hole is, whatever this problem is, it's not being solved. And it seems to be going in a little bit of a scary direction when you're trying to talk about how things need to be stopped, to be retired, to stop thinking. It's just incredible to me. People can read their own Marcus Aurelius books. Go after Stoicism. Go after other things. Go look for the lost books that maybe got tossed out that you're concerned about. Read more Shakespeare. Read more, but be at peace with you, and let others be at peace with them. And we'll all fight the evil together. We can all fight the true evil, the true killers of the days, the true maimers of the day, the true abusers. Well, I would be on the same team with anybody doing that. So let's build. I agree. I like the idea of building a better society and betterment for all. And in the meantime, just having our hearts open a little bit, our minds open, and in fairness a little bit for ourselves and for others. Anyway, love to everybody tonight. I just wanted to say that. Sending out lots of love and good thoughts, and I hope everyone has a great week. And Happy New Year. It's actually January 1st, 2019. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye-bye.